Are you a leader navigating burnout, doubt, or growth? Welcome to the Ripple Effect Leadership Podcast, where intentional leadership creates lasting impact. Hi, I'm Jen Brown with my co-host Hugo Rodriguez, and we're diving into real leadership stories and practical insights to help you lead with clarity, courage, and connection. Because we believe great leadership creates positive ripples at work and in life. Hello, everyone. I'm Jen Brown, a leadership coach with Journey of Grace Coaching and with over 20 years experience as a U.S. diplomat with the Department of State, where I had the privilege and honor to serve with my good friend, Hugo Rodriguez. Hugo, over to you.
Thank you, Jen. You're too kind. It was my honor and privilege to work with you and to work with so many amazing leaders and dedicated public servants. And I just want to start out this podcast with a shout out to all of the people that you and I worked with at State who are still there doing great work under difficult and challenging conditions. And we think about you all the time. We appreciate you. I know you never get the chance to hear it enough. You really are heroes, and the work you do benefits American citizens, now including Jen and I, every single day. So more power to you, and thank you. Thank you for what you do.
I echo that. I just want to throw that out there. And it's your work benefits U.S. citizens at home and abroad, and we are so grateful for you.
Indeed. So, Jen, I know what we're going to talk about today, and I'm super, super excited. Jen has published her first book and companion workbook, I believe. I've only heard a little bit about this because she's been busy getting it done and getting it out into the world. And so I wanted to take this time to learn about it, to learn the why and then the how did you do this and what is it and how can our listeners get it and how might it benefit them, open up their world and give them some connection and sense of purpose. So Jen, what is it called? Tell me all about it.
So, well, thank you for this. I will say this feels a little weird, a little awkward in saying this, but I have my book coming home to me. It is a 365 devotional book and companion journal to do the actual work. And I'll talk about that in a second, because as a coach, you might expect there would be some coaching prompts and challenges in this, right? And I want to put this out because as I retired from the Department of State at the end of April, I've been finding my way over the last 6-7 months in a new way, in a deeper way. And faith has been a super important part of this journey in this transition space. And my word for 2025 has been adventure, meaning to be bold in my faith in particular. I had no idea that this was going to result in a book. And it really wasn't until I felt this nudge of, for me, it was the Spirit saying, write this book. And I'm like, nope, not in my business plan. Like, I've left the State Department. I'm opening and building my leadership coaching company. Hugo, you and I had just started this podcast. I already had a huge full plate. And yet that nudge was there. And it wasn't just a nudge. It was actually, here's the plan. It was laid out very clearly. And some tweaks have happened along the way, but the whole thing was laid out very clearly. And what I have really leaned into is that faith is a driver for me, and faith sets that vision for me and gives me the strength when I don't feel I have the strength. And so I just said, okay, well, here we go.
So would you say you are responding to a need that you personally had, or a need you felt our clients and in the case of our podcast, our listeners needed? I'm really curious about where that motivation came from.
I love that. And I think it's similar to coaching. We coach people who, in some way, shape, or form, are a previous version of ourselves. We get where they're coming from, we get their challenges. And in many ways, I wrote this book for me with the prayer that if it reaches one person who with whom this message resonates, then that's a win. So I am not an expert in the Bible. I have read the Bible. I do my daily work. I am not an expert, didn't study theology in college. And so in many ways, I have felt very unqualified to do this project.
Tell me more about the book itself and the companion journal. What is in there? Let me just, assuming I get the book, I look forward to getting it. But I open it up, and what am I going to see?
Well, thank you. And actually, the book and the journal are both on Amazon as of December 12th. And so this is pretty exciting.
I'm putting in my order right now.
Awesome, awesome. So the idea behind the book is that each day starts with a verse, a Bible verse, with a couple of paragraphs of reflection, and then three coaching prompts at the end of the day. And the journal is the space to do that reflective work and journal where you are in your journey. And each month, I will say, has the way that I've shaped it, that came to me, is to shape it by a specific theme that has sort of laid out my marker for 2025. And so January starts with not just rushing in to do goal setting, but to be strategic in reflecting first and in discernment in order to then get that vision and set results for the year, not a slate of results, right? But being strategic in how we co-design the year with, for me, God at the helm, and then working through action planning and understanding some mindset piece that needs to come with that, because thoughts drive our actions. And so really looking at this as from a coach lens. And for me, what I say is I'm a student of Jesus. And so really bringing that faith more deeply into how I'm executing life.
I love the coaching angle on this because this is what we do when we're working with clients. And you said that, our clients are very often earlier versions of ourselves. For me, my clients are often current versions of me, things that I
True.
personally struggle with. And, when I'm in a coaching space, I'm trying to be curious with my client about where these things are showing up and how they can bring their own sort of toolkit to address those challenges, right? Because that's what I try to do in my own life. I love the homework element because I give myself homework, right? I give my coaching clients homework. I want you to spend some time reflecting on this. Come back with your insights and then let's discuss them. I'm going to try to hold my clients accountable to do that hard work. We go through life trying to think as little as possible about what's going on in our subconscious or our lightly conscious or in our psyche, right? We're just plowing through the world, and coaching a lot of times is just stop for a second. You're dealing with a lot of whatever it is here, emotion, anxiety, whatever it is. Let's peel that back.
Right.
Let's take a moment just to look at what's going on back there, and then reflect on what are the talents and skills and lessons you've learned prior to today that you can bring to that challenge that you're feeling, to the onion that we're peeling back and figuring out these layers. Tell me how your both the book and the journal are able to help readers move through that process.
So it really is. I mean, this is a daily devotional. And so, with space at the end of the month for a broader reflective space to see themes and challenges and growth over that month in particular. And it really is to sit, not that we have to take 30 minutes and sit, right? But just something that in the moment we can read through, digest, and be aware of ourselves and where we are in our faith and our journey. But the book also brings in life and leadership. It is more broadly about relationships. How does faith, how does joy, how does grief show up in our own lives and our relationships, and how does faith drive that and fill us up, or where do we need more?
Fantastic. I can't wait to read it. For me, so much of our struggle as humans starts with where we are in relationship,
Yes.
and how we perceive the world, how we are perceived by the world, the challenges that we erect for ourselves in that, and so having an opportunity every day to think deeply and to reflect on a power greater than ourselves and our role in that. I think that's so powerful.
So for me, it's funny because right around the same time, and I don't really believe in coincidences, but right around the same time, I learned of an app that's been around for several years. It's called YouVersion Bible app. And I started
Wait,
making
say the name again.
YouVersion, YOU version.
Okay.
And it's just a wonderful app. And I quickly adopted that to be part of my morning devotional time. And there are different Bible studies that you can do through the app, and it was wonderful. And what I also noticed, and Hugo, you and I have talked before about journaling, especially in November, right, with gratitude journaling. And I have not been a consistent gratitude journaler in my life, yet I love writing. And so I really wanted something where all in one, well, two books here, but in the same space, I would think and do my journaling. And so that's really, again, I did write this for me as much as for anyone else. So this is my way of taking that time in the morning to do that reflection and write it out. And I think because when we set our intentions for the day, we do have a better sense of how we shape the day, and we go from less of that reactive state to more of that intentional response state. So I get to choose every day. How do I see being stuck in traffic? How do I see when I'm dealing with a difficult person or when I'm feeling less than? So all of these things, right? And I just think that for me, the morning is that space to do it so that it helps set my day in a more intentional way.
Fantastic. You mentioned the gratitude journaling. I'm going to make an admission here that I never was able to make that a really profound habit, but as I think I mentioned in November, it is part of how I walk through the world.
Yes.
And when you recognize the things you have to be grateful for, it puts a glow on your whole day. And likewise, I think when you put out into the world your intention for the day, you are far more likely to walk through that day with intention. If you have a goal, if you have a mindset, and the power of mindset is so incredibly strong, right? And it seems like you're giving with your book a framework that even if you're not a journaler like me, it will cast a vision for my day, and I can walk in that vision. It seems like a powerful, powerful thing.
It truly, I think so too. And what I really wanted to do with God leading these discussions or these thoughts for the day, right? It's March, for example, is on mindfulness, and May is Hugo, you and I work in the positive intelligence coaching space of going from autopilot reactive to intentional response. And so May is focused around an idea of mental fitness and how we strengthen our thoughts to be able, with God leading, to be able to look at how we're responding and carving space. So for me, I don't know. The themes of this were just important to me in a way to really see how God leads me in all these different aspects of coaching and the life of 2025 in my world.
Well, I want to circle back in a few minutes to the what, but let's move on to the how because
Oh,
wow,
yeah.
wow. I don't know how you fit this in. Um, it seems like just yesterday you had sort of uh, envisioned this and brought it into the world, sort of as an idea. We discussed it, and here it is, like just a few months later, and you have produced this amazing thing. What was that like, and how did you make it happen?
Ooh, it a lot of sweat, tears, joy, frustration, all of the feels. And yes, this whole thing came together in 3 months. And it's just so bizarre. So let me just start when that vision really came to me. It wasn't just a like write a book. It was the whole thing. Here's how. Like the whole portion as I described in dividing by months and themes and what the structure of each day, that was all very clearly laid out for me. But then the work came together of now how do I really do that? And I will say, like I knew from the start there were certain Bible verses I wanted on certain days, and I knew a lot of the thematic way that I wanted the structure and the words. I also did use AI to help me structure how this would be laid out. And here's the thing: AI is a great thinking partner, co pilot in some ways. But like I put in, I wanted, different verses. Here's the themes. And what I found is it worked in some cases. It gave me repeats in others. So I'm old school. I created an Excel spreadsheet. And I am a little bit of a control freak. So I wanted to know my organization in a way that I had the strategy laid out. And so I named my months, the themes, I listed my verses, I, knew what I wanted to cover. And I did that to make sure that I had a different verse for each day, that it flowed. Then there was the editing piece of all of this of, the writing. It was great to be in a state of flow in writing. I will say, like, I've done a lot of government writing and editing, and this was a nice
Yes, yes, we have.
variation.
Yes, we have.
Yes, indeed. And so this felt like a real connection for me and deepening my own spiritual relationship with God. And just being able to tap into that was just amazing. And then came the editing, and that was pretty exhaustive because, as you might imagine, 365 days. Am I repeating coaching prompts? I'm trying to be fresh. I'm trying to be special to that day and intentional for that day, but then trying to keep the whole book, the whole year in mind too. And so it's been a labor of love. I'll say that.
I know it has been a huge labor of love for you. Tell me how much time you were investing every day, and was this a 7 day a week project? I know how busy you've been. Tell me more
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, I use Chat GPT to help create my milestones and like set my deadline and know where I was supposed to be. And I was running behind. I won't lie because I had a John Maxwell trip to Argentina built into this timeline where I got to be there for a week pouring into people. I am in business development, working with coaching clients and looking to, know more people in the community and be out and about. And it was not that I was working on this every day because that was just not realistic. So I spent a lot of my weekends and evenings really trying to pour in. And for me, when I get in a flow of writing, I could easily spend the whole weekend, and I may have done this in my pajamas, just writing. And it was wonderful. And that was like a gift to myself in many ways. Uh, so it wasn't an everyday thing, but toward the end, it definitely became more of an everyday because I was getting behind in my own deadline. And my parents have asked me, why did you have this 3 month deadline on yourself? And it's a great question. I think when the vision just sort of came to me, it just felt like December was the time for Christmas to head into January in a way of let's start the year. And my 2026 word for the year is up level. I want to up level my faith. And this, I think, takes me to the next level as I do my own work. Yeah.
It's a great word for 2026, up level. I think we all need to look for ways that we up level ourselves, whether that's our skills, the quality of our relationships, our faith. You know, if we're not making ourselves better, we're falling behind. We need to be sharks. We need to constantly be moving forward and looking for ways to shine a brighter light in the world. So I think up level is a great way to approach the new year. Wonderful. I am so inspired. And also, it makes me sweaty and nervous to think about all the work you put in. Wow, what dedication. I guess, what words do you have for our listeners who are small business owners, maybe writers or aspiring writers, who, find themselves, like I often do, doing all I can just to get the regular day's work done, let alone a humongous project like this?
Ooh, that's a pretty heavy question. And a few things that I would say. First, um, meet yourself where you are. That's what I try to do that's what I do with my clients. And faith is one of my core values. And we've talked before, Hugo, about the importance of doing values exercises to have values as your bumper, your guardrails, if you will, in how you are doing what you're doing, to the why. And faith is that for me. So when I'm coaching, I may not bring faith into it if the client doesn't bring faith into the coaching equation, right? But I know that for me, it's that underlying foundation. And so for the small business owners, for people who may want to write, getting clarity on your values is first and foremost, because that is what pushes you when it all feels uphill. And this book did feel uphill, I won't lie. And like there were some sacrifices of sleep. So you have to know, and working out more, um, but you have to know what price you're willing to pay for the why. And those values help you to figure out where you are in that equation.
That is
And
great advice from a great coach. Start with your values. Always start with your values.
yeah, starting with your values. And that often means slowing it down a little bit. And my dad laughs at me all the time. He's like, you say slow down. And he's like, you're always on the go. And I'm like, but I slow down to make sure I'm checking in for me with God and then with myself to make sure, am I on the right path for the day? Am I doing what I feel I'm called to do, where I'm supposed to try to make impact and serve people? And so those check-in points of, am I still in alignment with that why, with my values? Because when it is hard and we are rushing forward and just being so busy, then it's easy to be like, oh, here's a squirrel. Let me go chase this. Or, forget why we're doing the thing that we're doing in the first place and become frustrated.
This is the big challenge with leadership. And it comes up for me with my clients all the time. We are all extremely busy. The universe conspires to dump more on your plate than you've got the time to do. But to be a great leader means to put all of the other stuff aside and make time for the people around you and slow down. Be
Yeah.
present with them.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is you need to be present with yourself as well. right? You
You
need to be
do.
checking in with yourself, making sure that you are working on things that align with your values, that you're putting out into the world, the stuff that matters to you, because eventually it's going to catch up with you if you don't. And the only way to do that is by having these check-ins, the pauses, the reflective time. That's another thing that you're going to get when you purchase Jen's book at Amazon, right? Is you're going to have a built-in mechanism, a built-in check-in every day to think, am I living my values? Am I being true to my purpose in the world?
And, it really does start with leading ourselves first. And for me, that time with God is, am I leading myself the way that, as I said to a friend of mine, this book is called Coming Home to Me because it was all about coming home to the me that God's called me to be. And that is how I want to lead myself. I'm not saying I am perfect. Trust me, far from that, right? But this is not and this is the way for me to do those check-ins and to be intentional in my day. And I note that the picture on the front of this book, and this is the proof copy here still, but the picture on the front is also a picture behind me. I took this picture on my birthday when I went kayaking and off the coast of the Wilmington area down here. And that picture just represented so much to me because I was feeling like life was spiraling from a professional transition place, some personal things going on. And I just happened to position the kayak. Well, I don't know, circumstances, right? Just position that kayak directly in light with the sun. And that became this north north star for me in a way of I want my life to be walking toward the sun, toward the light. And so when the vision of this book came together, I just knew like that was also clear. This would be the cover because if we're not walking intentionally toward the light and pouring light into others, then we're not leading ourselves and we're not leading others. We're not leading them well anyway.
That's right. For those who are not watching the video of the episode, the cover of the book is the prow of a kayak on the water. Beautiful picture, Jen. That's amazing that you took that picture. But it's pointing to the horizon and it's pointing to the sun. And in this case, coming home to myself means, you know, I need to orient myself towards the things that matter to me
That's
and make
right.
sure that I am honoring those things. And sometimes in our work lives, I know in my work life, I will say, uh, you get to start chasing these shiny things that may not be the sun. They may not be your North Star, right? You're
Right.
chasing titles and promotions and awards and recognition. And those are kind of, they are false horizons. They are not what you're here to do. You are here
They lead
to,
to burnout and misalignment
right?
and resentment. And I know I've spent time in that space too.
And I don't want to say it's not good to have big goals, right? And those can be markers of the journey and things that matter to you. That's fine, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
But for most of us, we at least need to be asking ourselves, like, what's the real goal here? What is the sun I'm pointing to on the horizon? Because you're
Right.
going to get those awards and you're going to get those titles. And in the, days or even just a few weeks afterwards, you're like, why did I work so hard to get this? Now I'm back on the treadmill, heading for the next promotion, heading for the next award, the next title, right? And it is not real happiness. It is transient and it is temporary. And coming home to myself for me means figuring out what my real purpose is and making sure that I'm aligned with that.
And that's right. And, going from one achievement to the next achievement as that fulfillment is pretty empty.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've been in that space before too, because I allowed that to define my worth. And so coming home to me is learning more about my worth through my faith and not having it be defined by quote success of life or failures in life, right? And just how there's, for me, it's about God's love. And when that pours into me, then I think about where can I make the impact to be able to help pour out and lift others. So like I'm clear on my why in that sense. And I think for, for leaders, for our listeners, that clarity of the why with the values is what fills you when the promotions come through or don't, when jobs are lost,
Yep.
right? Because we're defined by something far greater than something external.
Those external markers can fade away and they can be taken away. And if that is what motivates you, what's going to motivate you the next day?
That's right.
You need to have a better sense of what is the reason you're here? What is the work you're meant to be doing?
Right. Right. Yeah. I think that's where the power comes in getting to know ourselves. And that requires being still in a way that may be uncomfortable.
Oh, it usually is.
It
You know,
definitely is.
a lot of action signifying nothing, right? That is just a comfortable place to be. And I'll think about the hard stuff tomorrow. Let me just do my to-do list today.
That's right.
And yeah, what ends up happening often times is, well, at least what I've found is, if you keep doing that, all of a sudden you realize you're burned out, you're off the path, the work doesn't mean anything to you anymore, and you're not contributing to your purpose. Somehow you drift off of that North Star, and it takes work to get back there. And
It
very
does.
often that's when we get called by our clients.
And that's right. That's right. Busyness does not mean success and impact.
Yeah.
And so, right, that clarity of growth and where you want to go, and then holding to that is a part of where coaching comes in. And that's where, for me, these books come together so that I can go back and I can see where have I been over the month, and where am I growing, and where do I still want to grow more. And this is not to reach a destination, right? This is an ongoing part of life.
This is a permanent game.
Yeah, it
There
is.
is no finish line.
No, no.
That's right.
Well, Hugo, I have something I just want to say, because as we are coming toward the holidays here, and I'm thinking about how we launched this podcast just a few months ago, to be honest, and it feels like so much longer. I'm so grateful to you and your leadership. And I was just on a John Maxwell team call, and the owner of the John Maxwell company, Mark Cole, asked this question of who in your life has modeled great leadership, and what are the qualities of a great leader. And I just want to I want to share these 6 questions. Who's a great leader who has pushed you to be your best, who has pulled you up a difficult hill toward accomplishment, who has stood beside you when you have needed it, especially a break, who has walked with you when you needed encouragement in your journey, who has run before you to model the way, and who has sat behind you when it was your turn to shine. And I will get a little emotional, but Hugo, you are that leader for me. And you
Oh,
have been in the State Department. You have been since we started this podcast. And I'm just very grateful for your leadership and your friendship and all that you model into the world.
thank you for saying that. That's so nice. Can I tell you a little secret? That it may have felt like I was pushing you or pulling you, but the whole time I was there at your side, learning from you and learning by our interactions. And so I thank you as well, because you've been just a ray of light through some really hard times in our previous careers, and the positivity and the energy to keep going and to bring people along with you. That's what makes a great leader. And I learned a lot of that from you. So our journey has been fun so far, and I expect it will continue to be fun. And I want to thank you for putting this book out into the world. Can't wait to get my copy. tell everybody again what it's called and where they can get it.
Okay, well, thank you so much for all of that, Hugo. The book is called Coming Home to Me, a Devotional Journey, and there is the companion journal. It is available on Amazon. And if this resonates with people, I appreciate any reviews, any feedback. Reach out to me through journeyofgracecoaching.com. And I'd love to hear from our listeners as to where they are in their journey and how we can lift them up.
Powerful. Fantastic. Well, like I said, I'm going to put in my order right now, and I think I'm going to be buying a few extra copies for people in my life. I think this is going to have the power of transformation. And so thank you for making this a reality, bringing your purpose to the page. It's really a gift. So really proud of you. Really amazing what you've accomplished here.
Thank you, Hugo. And thank you to our listeners for joining us on this journey. We so appreciate you.
Thank you,
Hope
Jenny.
you all have a wonderful holiday season.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Ripple Effect Leadership Podcast. If this episode sparked an insight or reminded you of someone, please share it and help forward the ripple. Don't forget to leave us a rating or review so more leaders can find their way here. You can find us on LinkedIn at Jen Brown-Coach and at HF Rodriguez Jr. and more leadership content and coaching tools at journeyofgracecoaching.com. A quick heads up before you go. This podcast and all content shared by Ripple Effect Leadership is for informational and educational purposes only. The opinions and characterizations in this podcast are our own and do not necessarily represent the U.S. government. This podcast is not a substitute for mental health treatment or professional medical advice. If you are struggling, we encourage you to reach out to a licensed mental health provider or call the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. You don't have to do this alone.